Hello and welcome to Talk of Games match preview. West Ham United against Norwich City. Aye. Well, it did one and then it got postponed, but we're back again with a slightly updated version of our outlook on Norwich and West Ham. Gonzo, as always, let's start with the Canaries. What are you thinking?
Not an awful lot, really, to be honest with you, Geo. They're in. They got West Bromwich Albionitis at the moment, so they're up and down like a yo-yo. Not a bad place to be. Let me just say that. By the way, I don't mean that as to be critical of them. It's not a bad thing to do at all. If you're not quite ready or able to sustain a challenge in the Premier League, or do what funny enough, what we've seen Crystal Palace do, for instance, and that is get promoted and cement yourself up there. Burnley would be another example. There's lots of them. If you can't do that, then make sure when you go down, you come straight back up, and they seem to be doing that. So they're clearly really well managed behind the scenes. With Delia Smith and whoever else is involved. Any other celebrity chefs are there? I don't know. Lovely pies, apparently, at Norwich, and you would certainly expect there to be lovely pies. They ditched Daniel Farker. It's not really worked out. I thought they did initially get the uplift, didn't they? The new manager, a boost, bounce, whatever you want to call it. Not so much anymore, although I did notice they just went through against Charlton in the FA Cup, which was their first game for a very, very long time.
Yeah, not to repeat too much of the preview that we did before, but pardon me, it didn't get loads of views, so I think most people didn't bother watching it, so we'll repeat it anyway. Well, it's understandable. The game got postponed. Why are you watching a preview for a game that's been postponed? But I find them an interesting club. They've got a clear strategy. We recently did the Watford preview. We both sat here saying we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what the blueprint is here. It's very erratic. There's no continuity. There's no short term. There's no long term. It's just bitty, and it didn't really make sense. Whereas Norwich, I think, is a complete opposite. I think it does make sense. I think they do have a clear plan and strategy as to what they're trying to do. I think this time is a bit different to when they came up there a few years ago, where they came up and didn't really lose any players, didn't really spend too much money, stuck to their guns of buying in young players. It didn't work out. They went down. They only lost Jamal Lewis. They ended up losing Emi Buendia in the summer. But I don't think that's a bad thing, because that triggered a bit of a spend up for them in the summer. But the problem is they've not really spent it too wisely. I've seen the goal scorer in that Charlton game was Rashica, and if they can get him scoring goals, at least they'll have something. I don't know if it'll be enough to keep them up, but I think to some extent, I think the appointment of Dean Smith's a good one for where Norwich are as a club, and the hope that he sticks with them when they go down and gets them back up again. I think he's a good manager to have in a championship. So I think to some extent, while they're still in the fight in that, later in the season, I think you might see almost preparing for the championship to some extent. Dean Smith trying to work out who he can keep in his squad next season and whatnot. But they're still in the fight at the moment. Do you think they'll stay up, Gonzo, or do you think they're sort of destined for the championship again?
Yeah, I don't think they can at all. They don't have the requisite component parts to stay up. They don't have a good defence. They don't have overly effective midfield, and they can't really score many goals. So you'd think not really. But there's much to admire about them. There is much to admire about them, and I think you're right. I think that's quite safe with Dean Smith. I don't think Dean Smith will be doing anyone any favours by staying there. He won't be turning down a load of Premier League job offers. That's for sure. I think Norwich is Norwich is a good club, and he needs Norwich more than Norwich need him, because I'm pretty much sure that any budding, I'm talking about I'm lightly relegated, but there you go. Any budding young manager in the Championship and the lower leagues, Norwich would be an excellent job. If you were the outstanding manager in League One or whatever the case may be, you want that Norwich job. That's a really, really good one. So but Dean Smith will be there. Hopefully it's a good match for them. But as we mentioned earlier, their recruitment process is excellent in terms of the youngsters that come through the academy. They're very, very good at it, actually.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's inevitable they're going to go down. I think it's a case of when rather than if. And it's also who goes down with them. Watford look a little bit doomed at the moment. Newcastle are spending money like there's no tomorrow, and they're probably almost buy their way out of it. And it sort of leaves one space possibly for Burnley this season, if you like. But I think Norwich is just not quite good enough. Their defence is... I actually thought when they spent in the summer, I could see what they were trying to do in the attacking sense of it. I think Sargent was worth a gamble. It's not really worked out. I think like I said, Rashika, I think, was a really good purchase from the Bundesliga. Again, just not worked out, unfortunately, for them. But the defence, I never really looked at and thought, oh, well, they all play as well as they could. That's a Premier League defence. I never felt like that. It seemed to be an area that they didn't invest in enough to stay in the Premier League, if you like. And I think it's cost them a bit too much. So Championship beckons for Norwich City, according to myself and Gonzo, and I imagine most of our viewers as well. Anyway, this video is sponsored by the One Football app. Don't worry, Norwich City. They've got the Championship on as well. That's a bit harsh. But you can get it downloaded. It's completely free. The link's in the description and in the pinned comments. It asks you your favourite club is. You click on that and it aggregates all the news in one place for you. If you're a West Ham fan, keep up with all the transfer rumours. If you're a Norwich fan, you can keep up to date with all the rumours of Todd Cantwell joining Newcastle United, just to make things worse for you as well. But it really is the best football app for the football fan. You get it downloaded before Wednesday night's game, an hour before the kickoff. You get notifications. It's West Ham versus Norwich City lineups announced. You click it, it brings up the pitch, it tells you information both sides are playing, who's playing in what position as well. It really is fantastic, and it's completely free, so get downloaded today. January transfer window, Gonzo. I suppose it possesses a bit of a dilemma for Norwich City. Do you spend and try and stay in the Premier League, but you might be slitting your own throat a little bit, or do you just play conservative, accept defeat, and keep the money for next season, if you like?
Well, it depends if you're buying players to stay in the Premier League or you're buying players for next season. I do think if you do that, the second one, I think there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. If you're giving people a little bit of experience just before, in fact, I think Bowen, funny enough, our own Bowen, might have played a couple of games in the Premier League before they got relegated. I think there's few examples of players that might have done that, have had a little bit of experience, then gone down. So
we did it with Jordan Hugo, didn't we? You won't convince me otherwise.
Oh, sure. In terms of buying for that, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, maybe more younger players than Hugo. To be fair, who was sort of not in the twilight. He was 27, 28, wasn't he, when he signed for us, something like that. Anyway, I think the wages are important, though. So I think when you bring these players on board, you've got to very much say, look, I'm not putting you on Premier League wages. You're going to be on Championship wages with a view to us being in the Championship next season. But what you're going to get is to experience a little bit of the razzmatazz of the Premier League, a little bit of the experience of playing against some really top players. And you get to be with us for pre-season, so we get all that out of the way. So it depends. If what you're going to do is bring in that 33-year-old journeyman to try and score the goals to keep you up and pay him a fortune, and it's money that sort of just disappears out the club coffers, I wouldn't bother. If they're young, they've got potential, and you have a long-term strategy for them, by all means, bring them in now.
Yeah, I think they've almost messed up the domestic loans, really. You obviously only get two. They've got Brandon Williams and Billy Gilmore in. And at the start of the season, it looked like two really clever signings for Norwich, but it's not really worked out, and it feels like they've got them wrong. And in January, when you're in a position like Norwich, that domestic loans are gold dust, really, aren't they? You can go to Man United or someone and get a player that's maybe not playing too much and get them into your team. A bit like what Newcastle did with Joe Willock in the second half last season. Someone that's down the bottom, get a player and it just inspires you. It has that little bit of quality that you've been lacking all season, but they don't have that deal there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up sending Gilmore back to Chelsea and trying to get another player in on loan. I think they've got to be clever. But at the same time, you've almost got to send a message to your fans a little bit. You don't really want to wave the white flag this early as Norwich, because they can still get. Is it mathematically possible? Of course it is. They're still in the relegation battle. It's not done and dusted as much as me and you perhaps making on a little bit. Although it seems, like I said, inevitable they're going to get relegated. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything. But if they do sell Cantwell for 15 million, as is rumoured to, whether it's Newcastle or Leicester, you've got to make that money available for Dean Smith to give him a chance of getting in one or two of his own players and seeing if you can do something and give them a fighting chance to stay up. Anyway, players you admire?
Oh, well, funny enough, you've just mentioned one of them. I really like Cantwell. I didn't know about the transfer rumours to Newcastle. His contract's up at the end of the season, so they've got to take what they've got. That being said, I don't think he's been featuring in the team much. I think that's because he's been a bit of a contract rebel. But I really like him. He travels across the grass really well. That didn't come out right, did it? He runs basically, but he glides. There's an elegance to him, and I think he changes pace really well. I just he's one of those I would call them floaters, really, which again doesn't sound particularly endearing. Make him sound a bit like a poo, but He's much better than that. He's really good. They've got a lot of Scottish sounding players. I noticed, Gio. Quite a few. McLean, McClelland, Angus. They've got a lot of McGovern. They've got a lot of Scottish. Funny enough, Angus, as Angus Gunn, his dad was a goalkeeper for Norwich before. Very, very good goalkeeper, actually. Brian Gunn. They've got Max Aaron still, good player. Whether he'll go down and do the championship again, he probably needs to chance his arm actually at playing amongst some other better players to see if he can fulfil his potential. That's about it. I don't know an awful lot, Gio, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Billy Gilmore, great player, wrong club. It's just getting worse and worse for him at Norwich now. That video went around on social media of the fans sort of singing songs basically saying he's crap kind of thing. Yeah, they weren't too keen on him, but I understand why to some extent. I think ever since he celebrated getting beat by Chelsea with Chelsea players, I think that's never really
Oh, did he?
Yeah, when they played at Stamford Bridge, there was reports that after the game he was sort of celebrating, if you like, with Chelsea players, because obviously he's on loan from there. So that's his mates, isn't it? So I think it's one of them things. There's no real coming back from that, is there?
No,
with the management, there is. I think there is with management. You're seeing it with Arsenal with Xhaka at the minute. Before Arteta, he took his top off and threw it in the dugout, and that lost him the captain's armband. And Arsenal fans were like, "Well, get him out of the club." But Arteta's given him another chance, and I think Dean Smith was doing that at Norwich. And don't worry, that happened under Farke. I'll take you in. You're my player now. It's different. But I don't think the fans ever forget. I think they're different to the management. And I still think he is a top player. It's just the wrong club. Norwich can't and won't and shouldn't play the football that Billy Gilmore needs to play in order to get the best out of him. Norwich aren't good enough. It's a completely different thing. Conor Gallagher would have been perfect for Norwich City. Billy Gilmore, not so much. Completely different type of player. And like I said in the last time, they're left back, the alternative to Brandon Williams. I've only seen him once or twice. Giannopoulos, or whatever his name is, looked bloody good whenever I saw him. It was the Man United game. I remember watching it thinking, crikey, I hope we don't play Norwich and this guy's running down the left wing, because he was bombing forward from that left back position. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was the best player on the pitch against Man United, and that includes the Man United players. Oh, he really impressed me. Then the next game, Brandon Williams was back in. I was a bit surprised by it, to be honest with you, but just lacking in quality, really, Norwich. Anyway, shall we talk about West Ham?
Yes, please.
The brief team news for us is that Vladimir Supal is perhaps all right for the game. David Moyes was a little bit coy, didn't want to reveal too much, but the belief is that his isolation started early last week, so his isolation will be finito by the time the Norwich City game comes around. So for the sake of the hypothetical lineups, Gonzo, we will include Vladimir Supal as being available. Now, normally I just skip to the defence, but do we have a decision to make on the goalkeeper?
Yeah, we do. We can select him in our team, but
Yes.
I think Moyes' comments were quite telling, actually, about a week ago, where he said it wasn't necessarily the case that in Europe that Areola would play in goal. Actually, there was a chance that Fabianski might. I think if at that point, I don't know why you would say that. I understand why you would say things in the press like they'll all get equal opportunities. That I get, because that's motivational. I don't know why you would pretty much say, nah, I might, he's only playing in Europe. I might drop him from that as well, which is what he said. I think it's more confirmation of what I suspect anyway. I just find it weird. So would I put Areola in for this one? I would just... I think we overly need him for this game, because this is not going to be a counter-attacking game. I think he's massively important to the counter-attack. But I just don't think Moyes will play him.
No, I agree. I don't think he'll play Leeds. I would like to see it changed or kept the same from Leeds, if you like. I would like to see Areola start this game. His distribution was fantastic against Leeds, and it's not the be-all and end-all. But like I said to you, when we did the player ratings earlier today for the Leeds game regarding Areola, I said to you that it's difficult to judge him, really, because we've only seen him in cup games and Europa League games and stuff, and it's always, even when we did play, Man United and stuff, it was a rotated Man United team. It was a rotated West Ham team as well, yes, but it's difficult to judge him fully until he's been properly tested. But I don't feel like he's ever going to get the opportunity to get fully tested. But with him, with Fabianski this season, I think he's had quite a good season, a strong season from Fabianski, to be clear. But I feel like he has like a poor game. Then we just leave him in and he'll have a good one and a couple of average ones. So you forget about the whole number one shirt thing because he's all right. Then you'll have another poor game. Then it's like, oh, well, we'll change it. And it just seems like a never-ending cycle at the minute. Like he seems to have one poor game every 5 or something, which is perhaps not good enough for a goalkeeper. And I think you're speaking about looking at next season and stuff. I think we need to some extent as well with the goalkeeper situation. I think this is a good opportunity. This game is a good opportunity to put Areola in. It's should be a relatively comfortable one for him going into the Leeds one as well. Just give him a chance to challenge Fabianski, if you like, because while he's playing these cup competitions, I don't think he's going to get a crack at it, if you like. But I'm a bit like yourself. I'm sort of expecting Fabianski just being goal. Simple as that, really. Does the rest of the team just pick itself?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, look, as I say, I thought Fredericks put in a really decent performance, bearing in mind he's meant to be injured. Injured players really look fit, and he looked fit. He really did, sharp, and well done to him. But Soufal is a level above, so you have to, Soufal has to come in and feature in that. Cresswell might be on the bench for this one, so. Which means he probably is available. I think Cresswell is available for this one, quite possibly.
But no rush. No rush, is there?
There's no rush at all. Not with Johnson playing like that. No. So I would keep him in, and then if we need him or he wants to switch things up against Leeds, he's got the option there. But we're lucky now at fullback where it's not like he's got to rest players. So even if Soufal played on against Norwich, it's not like he's got to wrap him in cotton wool and not play him against Leeds because he's had a break anyway. Do you know what I mean? He's not knackered. So yeah, that would be the composition of my back four. Obviously, Diop and Dawson in there as well.
Yeah, like, just picks itself, doesn't it? It's a shame that we don't have. If there was ever a game you're going to rotate players and rest them or give other players an opportunity, this is it. With the greatest of respect to Norwich City, we are playing the team that's bottom of the Premier League at home at the London Stadium, the second of our third home game in a row. This is a good opportunity to bring one or two players that are perhaps first team players who are just not getting opportunities, if you like, to come in and show what they've got. We just don't really have any alternatives defensively at the minute. I don't want to see Masuaku. We've got no other centre back unless we use Elise or Baptiste, but I think it's a little bit too risky, perhaps, although I'd expect them to cope. But it's still an element of risk here. Moving into midfield, I think Rice and Souček picks themselves again. You could make a small case for Crowell and Noble coming in, but I don't feel it's necessary. If I had to rotate one player, though, Gonzo, if I had to rotate one gun-to-head thing, it would be Souček, actually. He'd be the one I'd probably just give him a rest. Just rotate, use him sporadically, give him a rest, play him against Leeds. He's not been dropped. He's just having a break from the game. You could take a pick between Crowell and Noble to come in. I wouldn't be overly fussed, but picks itself. But what about Pablo Fornals, though? He needs game time, given that he's been out for 10 days with COVID. Before that, he was in poor form. He looked sharp when he came on the bench against Leeds. So there's any one player that could come into the starting 11. It probably is Fornals.
Yeah, I mean, somebody made an excellent point on the comments on a video this morning, Geo. I mean, a really excellent point. I'm only looking around now just because I can't find his name, and I do apologize.
It wasn't the guy in the video, anyway.
Oh, he speaks a lot of sense, that one. Oh, yeah, we liked him. No, somebody wrote a comment underneath. Well, he probably typed it, actually. Probably didn't write it at all. Beautiful handwritten letter. Wrote me in a letter. It was nice of him. What he said was about Lanzini. He said, Lanzini would always be my choice when a team are tough to break down. He's basically saying he changes the dynamic of the team. When a team is sitting back, he said, however, when we're playing counter-attacking football, he really likes to look at Fornals. He said, as can be demonstrated by the last goal against Leeds when they were all attacking in our heart and then basically, and he does transition. And I started thinking of some of Fornals' stuff. Remember the really quick free kick, bang, down, off. He is switched on to that type of thing, actually. And I just thought it was a really, really nice observation. But anyway, this is not one of those games.
I'm about to say, but just to counter that, whilst I sort of see where he's coming from, I can certainly see the angle here. Leeds was a bit counter-attacking from start to finish. Leeds are very open, and Lanzini played really well in the game.
Well, we gave him a 9, didn't we, in the player ratings? So yeah, he certainly did. But I thought it was a good observation. I quite liked it. But this is not one of those games. This is, I'd imagine Norwich. If Norwich if we're being swarmed, if there's a swarm of canaries all over us, and we're camped in the 18-yard box, fair enough. But I would suspect that we will have more possession than them, and we'll attack. We'll have more shots on goal than them. If that's the case, then Lanzini's got to be in. And if Lanzini's in, there is no other place in the team for Norwich for 4 hours following that performance against Leeds.
And then Bojan Vlasic and Antonio, like we were saying this morning, it's a good opportunity for Vlasic now, isn't it? He's had his game against Leeds. He's going to start against Norwich. He's probably going to start against Leeds again as long as he does well, because Fornals is there on the bench, and we know Moyes likes and trusts Fornals, so it's sort of like one poor game from Vlasic, or possibly Lanzini, and Moyes will swap him. Moyes will put Fornals back in, but a good chance for Vlasic to sort of stake a claim in the team, Gonzo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's well on his way to doing that. Anyway, he's got that drive and that certainty, which we know David Moyes really likes in a player. David Moyes, we mentioned it again in the video this morning, that he will not be under any doubt as to what he's getting from Vlasic, and it was really only, we know you get the attitude, you get the work rate, he's going to help protect whoever's playing at left back or whatever wing he's playing on. Will you get the level of performance, and can you impact the game from an attacking aspect? Those are the only questions, and I think the answer is yes. Now he's going to, if it is Aaron's playing at right back, then I think he'll give him a right old game. I really do. So yeah, I think this is. He could really. It's a big month. January is a massive, massive month for Nikola Vlasic.
I think there's pros and cons to this tie when this fixture was postponed just before Christmas. I was a bit frustrated with it. I didn't think it was good timing for us, actually, and then it meant that Soufal missed the Tottenham game in the cup, which we went out of due to suspension. And I felt there was more cons than pros to that game being moved to here. But Vlasic is probably the biggest pro, if you like. His form, he wouldn't have started that game against Norwich City. He would have been on the bench kind of thing. There was no form to speak of, really. There's glimpses of Vlasic, but that was all. But coming into this game now, actually, he's in the starting 11. Soufal's back as well, so he's not suspended like he would have been for the fixture originally. But I think Vlasic is the biggest plus for West Ham, actually. His form, his place in the team, if you like. Lanzini's form's continued as well. Antonio's in better form too. So I think the pros far outweigh the cons. Like I said, originally I was a bit disheartened that the game was postponed, because I think it's because it was Norwich. You just wanted to go for the throat, get the 3 points and stuff, and we needed it as well just before the Watford game. But now we've picked up our form a little bit, got the wins on the board, and the form of a few players who've now been back is good for West Ham. Our next 3 fixtures gone with Norwich, Leeds, and then away to Man United. What sort of points tally are you hoping for? Are you looking at, especially when you consider our aspirations for the end of the season?
9. Yeah, 9. Really. Look, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone. Well, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Norwich and Leeds, certainly. But yeah, really. We've discussed them. There's lots to be said for Norwich, but we should beat them, particularly with the team we got, particularly with the form we got. Leeds, we're in. I don't know what our record is. It's good though. Since they got promoted, our record against Leeds is good, and it seems. And I'll say every time, it seems like they're custom made for our tactics. Man United. I mean, we've already beaten them once this season. The fear factor's gone. They are a club in turmoil. The players are throwing tantrums. The body language is horrendous. If you've seen them at all recently, anytime to do anything, I mean, get substituted, walk onto the pitch, line up for a corner, anything, they are sulking, and it says an awful lot. That I don't know if it's the last game or whatever. One very recent game, it was actually Phil Jones who was singled out for praise amongst the Manchester United Galacticos or whatever. Phil Jones. It took Phil Jones to go back into that team and be the best player on the pitch. It's it's a joke, actually. So unless they completely metamorphosize and something ridiculous happens, then I think we can see more sulking. And I know we'll deal with a Man United game, but it's 3 points, mate. I think it's 9 points. 9 points all 3 games.
Yeah, I think minimum of 7, to be fair. I think, but then it feeds into it. You beat Norwich, beat Leeds, suddenly you're banging form heading to Old Trafford, and it becomes like a bit more relevant to get the 3 points. But I think we need a minimum of 7, stay on course for qualifying for European football this season, for next season. Important game against Norwich. Are you confident for it?
Yeah, I am. I'm really confident. We've got that vibe about us, that feel. I think the stadium is busy as well. I know it's a Wednesday night, but I think it'll be relatively busy. Won't have that vociferous away support. I don't mean that Norwich haven't got good fans or don't make noise. They do, but there was 8,500 Leeds fans. The allocation will be half that, probably less than half that. I don't know if Norwich might bring 2,500 fans. Just not going to be as noisy down there. We should be able to make a bit of a racket as well. Yeah, mate, very, very confident for this one.
It's hard not to be, isn't it? It is difficult. We are playing the team bottom of the league with the last couple of games. Well, I say the last couple. Well, against Leeds, like I said, I refuse to say that we were excellent. That we played well. We were comfortable. Leeds are also a better team than Norwich City. And we've got a little bit of swagger about us again, which was missing for a few games. Like Bowen's always had it, but Vlasic, Lanzini were just a joy to watch. Antonio was in top form against Leeds centre-backs, and if we can get that Antonio turn up against Norwich City, you have a field day. They'll probably still have nightmares about him from the post-lockdown tournament that we had when he walked up there. And oh no, that was Watford, wasn't it? It was Watford. Was it Watford? Or was it Norwich? It was Norwich. Who did he score 4 against?
That was Norwich, was it?
It was Norwich, wasn't it?
We should know. Terrible.
It was Watford or Norwich.
Yeah, well, that's why you need the One Football app. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we need to get on the One Football app, scroll through West Ham results to that game and have a look at who it was.
It was a yellow team. They were definitely yellow. Borussia Dortmund.
Who got relegated again this season. But anyway, they need to feed him anyway, especially when he's in that form. We've got some strength and depth come back. Crespo's on the bench. That's a massive plus as well. It's just hard not to be extremely confident for this game. Can I get any final words from yourself and your score prediction, please?
Final words. Look, we turn up. We have the right attitude, and I think we do. The non-training is important, but I'm sure he's thought all this through. I bet they've got the schedule for this. I bet there's got 3 games and a series of warm downs and stretches and ice baths or whatever they do, iced drinks, iced coffees, just a lot of ice basically, to help them prepare for each match and recuperate post-match. Score prediction. 4-0, I think 4-0 probably.
Yeah, you have to be confident. We've had the same time to prepare for this game as Norwich have after their win against Charlton in the FA Cup as well. So it's identical for both teams, to be fair. So there's no excuses on that front. Players for us in form at home. Like, I agree with you about the fans thing. Also, there's no kids for a quid or anything like that, which we had in place for the FA Cup game, which is good.
Charge them full money. That's what I say. They can pay. These kids, have you seen how tall they are, kids these days? A quid, 50 quid.
They pay 30 quid each. If the kids pay 30 quid, they make more noise, apparently. There's a correlation between how little they pay and how much noise they make.
You want them angry. You want angry and skint. So we've taken all their pocket money, and they're just enraged that they can't buy any popcorn.
Tell them if they sing for 90 minutes, they get like 20 quid back on their way out the door. The stewards are having
Peppa Pig sticker or something as well.
Why not? Go for something like that anyway. I'm gonna say 3-0 West Ham. A very comfortable win for us on Wednesday. We all know what's going to happen now, Gonzo. We get beat. This video is going to go down well with Norwich fans. They've probably been getting angry as videos got on. We just topped it off there at the 4-0.
As long as they watch the adverts, Geo. As long as they watch the adverts.
But anyway, if you're going on Wednesday, enjoy it. If not, you can join us on Wednesday night with our build-up show. So make sure you pop back. Subscribe to the channel if you drop a like on the page if you enjoyed it. Norwich fans, you might have enjoyed it. You might have enjoyed
like Norwich.
We do, to be fair. That's the worst thing. We do like them. They're just crap.